Following our video on Abraham's two sons, Ishmael and Isaac, we'll continue to explore the conflict between Israel and Palestine. Later, as the Bible records, the northern kingdom of Israel was destroyed by the rise of the Assyrian Empire in the 8th century BC, and the people of the northern kingdom of Israel were dispersed and deported to various parts of the empire. In the 7th century BC, the Babylonian Empire destroys the southern kingdom of Israel, Judah, and destroys Solomon's temple. The people of Judah, including the royal family and elite, are taken to the capital city of Babylon. Unlike the northern kingdom of Israel, however, the people of Judah maintain a community in Babylon and are referred to as Jews. Decades later, the Persian Empire takes over the Babylonian Empire, and Persian King Cyrus the Great allows the Jews to return to the land of Judah. By the 1st century BC, Herod, a native of Edom, is appointed king of Judea by the Roman Senate, ruling the region that includes Judah with a Roman governor. Herod's reign sees the massive expansion of the temple in Jerusalem, the development of Judaism, and the emergence of various Jewish religious groups, including the Pharisees, Sadducees, and Essenes. Then, in 70 AD, the Jews rebelled against Roman rule, leading to the fall of Jerusalem by Roman legions and the total destruction of the temple built by Herod, as predicted by Jesus. Following the destruction of the temple, hundreds of thousands of Jews are taken captive by the Romans and later scattered throughout Europe, the Middle East, and Russia. In the 2nd century, the Jews revolt again, and more than 580,000 are slaughtered and suppressed by the Roman Emperor Hadrian. He bans Jewish circumcision and Torah study and expels the Jews from Jerusalem. He also renames the land of Judea as Syria Palestina, a reference to the Philistines and Syrians, two of the Jews' most hated enemies. The land is then referred to as Palestine to this day. A Jewish dictionary recorded this time as follows: "The end of the Jewish state has come." Islam conquers Jerusalem in the 7th century and builds the Al-Aqsa Mosque and the Dome of the Rock on the Temple Mount. The Dome of the Rock is said to be where Muhammad ascended to heaven. Al-Aqsa Mosque and the Dome of the Rock are the three holiest sites in Islam, but the Temple Mount is also the holiest site in Judaism. It is the site of Solomon's temple and the holiest site in Judaism, where God is said to have resided in the Holy of Holies within the temple. At the Western Wall, the only part of the temple that was not destroyed by the Romans that surrounded the Temple Mount, Jews prayed and longed for the restoration of the destroyed temple and a return to the holy city. This holy site on the Temple Mount would become the site of inevitable conflict and clashes between Israelis and Palestinians. Palestine was part of the Ottoman Empire until World War I and was home to a diverse population of Arabs, Jews, and Christians. In the late 19th century, the Zionist movement to establish a Jewish state in Palestine gained momentum amid rising anti-Semitism in Europe. After World War I, the League of Nations granted the British the mandate rule of Palestine. The British government signed the Balfour Declaration, which stated its support for the establishment of a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine. Balfour Declaration, stating its support for the establishment of a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine. On May 14, 1948, after Israel declares its statehood, Arab countries invade Israel. The war leaves hundreds of thousands of Palestinian Arabs homeless and refugees. Israel subsequently fights several wars with Arab countries, led by Egypt. On March 26, 1979, Israel and Egypt signed a peace treaty ending the 30-year war, and Israel returned the Sinai Peninsula to Egypt, which it had gained in the war. Finally, in Oslo in 1993, Israel and the Palestinians sign a two-state solution with the West Bank and Gaza within Israel and the rest of the territories held by the Palestinians. The Oslo Accords create the Palestinian Authority, ruled by the Fatah Party in the West Bank, an area allocated to Israel west of the Jordan River. The PA is recognized internationally as the legitimate representative of the Palestinian people and becomes a non-member observer state at the United Nations. On the other hand, the Gaza Strip, the other Palestinian share, was allocated to the Islamist party Hamas, which won the 2006 general elections and has been in power in Gaza since 2007. Hamas rejects the two-state solution and aims to establish an Islamic state. As such, many countries, including the United States, the European Union, and others, have classified Hamas as a terrorist organization that engages in continuous hostile armed action against Israel. The Gaza Strip, home to more than 2.1 million people, has been called an open-air prison. That's because Israel has erected a 6-meter-high security barrier since 2007 to keep weapons out. But thousands of tunnels dug by Hamas have rendered the barrier useless. The barrier is widely criticized for controlling the movement of goods and people, creating harsh living conditions, high unemployment, and ghettoization for Gaza's residents. Since then, Israel has further upgraded the security barrier in Gaza, built a separation barrier in the relatively moderate West Bank, and expanded illegal Israeli settlements on Palestinian land in the West Bank. It also restricts Palestinian sovereignty and maintains a military presence for security reasons, preventing Palestine from becoming a fully independent state. Meanwhile, in September 2020, Israel and Bahrain and the United Arab Emirates signed a U.S.-brokered agreement establishing formal diplomatic relations. The agreement is named after Abraham, who is considered the common ancestor of Judaism, Islam, and Christianity. In response, the Palestinian Authority pushed back, releasing the following statement: "We firmly believe that there can be no peace in the Middle East until Palestine is recognized as a state." In the midst of this conflict between Israel and Palestine, Hamas, the militant group in Gaza, has committed extreme acts of terrorism, killing and kidnapping Israeli civilians in order to gain global attention, and Israel has responded by declaring war on Hamas. Hamas's atrocities and Israel's retaliation have resulted in the mass deaths of innocent Israelis and Palestinians. Muslims who hate Hamas have also seen their parents and siblings die in front of their eyes under Israeli bombardment, and the vicious cycle of retaliation will continue in this hostile environment. As soon as we came out of the era of the corona pandemic, the Russian-Ukrainian war was followed by the war between Palestine and Israel, which has a larger historical religious conflict. I pray that the world will move away from this era of conflict and hatred to an era of human compassion and love.